share with you tonight, and I think we're off to a great start. So to continue, I want to bring up a former European parliamentary representative from Italy, an investigative journalist, an author, and the man behind the film that you're going to see later this evening that's called Zero. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Giulietto Chiesa.
We have at our disposal, I will tell you two things. One a little bit longer and the other a little bit shorter. But I believe all the two are important. Connected to the discussion you have just heard, very important. My impression is that we are going in the biggest crisis of history of mankind. And this is very strictly connected with 9/11, because 9/11 is not only a paradigm of this crisis, but it has been the attempt to delay the crisis. Those who have organized 9/11 were almost aware that the United States were going in a deep trouble. And simply they tried to delay. They succeeded in delaying the crisis of 7 years. But the crisis arrived. And this is a crisis of a dimension that we all here, we are more or less conscious about the danger. Cinzia told us now exactly this. It's a terrible danger. But all around, in this city, in France, in Europe, the majority of people don't know nothing. The silence around 9/11 is the same silence about the crisis which is coming. And it is not only a crisis, a financial crisis, which is huge. They, after 9/11, have created a mountain of money, not existing and existing at the same time. Virtual money, 800, 900 trillion dollars. A huge amount of money which has not been eliminated is there, it's going on all around the world. Nobody has closed this problem, and Obama is not in condition to do that. But it is not the crisis of money, virtual money. The crisis is the crisis of energy. For the first time in the history of humankind, energy is finishing. And all those who say that it is not true are lying. They know that the energy is finishing. That they know that we are going in a system of limited resources, and it will be forever. The second. And the third, they tell from every newspaper every day that the crisis is already finishing. It is not true, they are lying altogether. The crisis is at the very beginning, and there is a very normal reason. That is that if we imagine for 1 minute that the development of the world can go the same way that it has gone in the last 50 years, we will destroy our world in the next generation time. It's impossible to go on the same way. And it is so simple, which can be demonstrated now in 3 minutes. If the Chinese, 1,300,000,000 people began to eat meat like we do, there will not be place for humanity on this earth. We need 4 planets for that. It's impossible. But at the same time, we can't stop the Chinese to grow. We can't stop the Indians to grow, the Indonesian to grow, the Brazilian to grow. That means, or we stop this overall madness, or there will be war. This is a question. Because when the situation will become clear that there is no energy, no raw materials, no food for everybody, the strongest will try to obtain with the war. They will kill millions of people, probably billions of people. We are at the beginning of a crisis without no exit. And finally, there is another crisis that nobody knows, the climate change. Try to imagine for 1 minute that this crisis finished. It is impossible, I told you before, but try to imagine. We continue, we begin again to develop, we begin again to consumption. You know how an house women in the United States every year implies 20 tons of conventional oil. You know how much use a housewife in India? 1.5. You can imagine the situation where all the world is consuming the same amount of energy. We will simply change the climate of our planet. It's going on. It's going on. Can you try to imagine? I give you an example, and I will finish with that. Because I say all this because we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared to that. I was, at the beginning of September, I was in Yakutia. You know what is Yakutia? Yakutia is in Siberia. But Yakutia alone, which is an autonomous republic of Russia, is bigger than Europe. Bigger than Europe. And when I asked to the government, the president of the Yakutia, I asked him, did you perceive the climate change already? And he told me, not so much. Well, some planes went there in the North Arctic Sea and they witnessed the formation simply of 2 or 3 lakes of the dimension of France. Of the dimension of France. And he told me, it is nothing. Well, if we don't stop the growth of CO2 in the atmosphere in the next 15 years, we will change the temperature of the planet for 2 centuries. And we will create an absolutely impossible situation for all the population of the world. That is, we are waging the war. And we have to prepare to defend ourselves. That is the second thing I wanted to tell you. We have to prepare to defend ourselves. That is the only way to do so. And that means we have to make a little effort today. I don't know how many we are, but probably in Europe we are many, to organize yourself a little bit better. We have to finish to act everybody independently from the other. We have to act together. We have to create the first elementary system and way to behave together, to organize together, to defend ourselves together, not only in Italy or in France or somewhere, everywhere in Europe. We have to create the first step for a new party, for survival, for the alternative, for another way of living, for the alternative to this system, which is full madness. Well, I finished.
Yeah.